And I'm aware of what's happened, actually. My police colleague in Scotland have informed me, but I'll be careful what I can tell you. But what I can say to you is this. Is the first priority of the police officer that was actually first informed, pretty similar to the one in Reading at the weekend, is to contain the suspect. Once he or she contains the suspect, there will be other officers en route, because as soon as a police officer is informed that there's been a stabbing or somebody is armed, the first thing they'll do is put up for immediate assistance. And as soon as that is acknowledged, they'll go straight in and deal with it. And often it's a lone officer that is tackling perhaps one or even an unknown number of suspects. In this particular case, it appears to be just one. The officer actually challenged the individual, and as I understand it now, he's seriously ill in hospital undergoing surgery, but thank God he's stable. So that's the priority of the first officer on scene.
And beyond that, it's a question of gathering as much evidence as you can and keeping people who are caught up in this as safe and as calm as you can, I guess.
Well, it is. I mean, obviously, you know, people are going around shopping. They've only just gone back now. Businesses are still opening. And this can happen, sadly, and often does now, in any city centre. It can happen in a town or a village. And people are frightened. And as soon as they hear somebody is armed, and people have said somebody's dead, somebody's injured, it just scares the living daylights out of everybody. The good thing about police officers is that we're used to dealing with things like this. The first officers on the scene will back up the first officer. As soon as the control room is aware that this is a major incident, there was upwards of 20, 25 police officers on the scene, probably within minutes, and armed response officers were on the scene probably within 5 to 10 minutes. Glasgow, there's a number of armed officers available, so they would have been on the scene very quickly. And my understanding is that as soon as somebody poses a danger, and as soon as we know that one of ours has been stabbed, or even a member of the public, we're all equal, those officers will deem what threat that individual poses, and if that individual poses a further threat to either the police or the public, then that person will be shot. And that is exactly what has happened. As I said, there are things that I do know that will come out, but it's not right for me to actually tell anybody listening until Police Scotland have actually revealed those details. Do
they relate to the incident as it unfolded, or do they relate to the nature of the individual, the motivation for the incident? I mean, you don't have to tell us, but...
What I will tell you is that the officer that first arrived on the scene wasn't fully armed, but as I understand it, had a taser. The Police Scotland will tell you whether they deployed that or not and what effect it did or didn't have. But what I can say, and what you'll obviously understand, is that whatever force was originally used against the lone suspect wasn't sufficient. And that person, by the looks of it, has stabbed to death, as I understand it, 3 separate individuals. And the total fatalities, as I understand it, yet to be confirmed by Police Scotland, is the suspect has been shot dead and 3 other individuals have been tragically killed. And one of our police colleagues is in hospital undergoing surgery. That's the number as I understand it, but it's a breaking story, and it's right and only proper that Police Scotland confirm the information that I've given you.
It is. You said at the beginning there, rightly, that we've seen this can happen in towns and cities and villages. It can happen anywhere. This degree of violence, we'll find out all in good time that the reason for it. But the spectre of terrorism has been with us long enough to know that our lives, to a degree, are changed by it, and certainly the police and armed forces' response to it has changed because of it. Typically, that force would be the armed force, the firepower in relation to this would be around cities, wouldn't it? Hence the speed with which we've seen responses in London Bridge, for example, and today.
Well, it would be, as you rightly say. The whole police service at this moment in time are on high alert. And as soon as an armed officer or an armed response unit, as they are Trojan units in London, as soon as they hear that there's been a stabbing or a shooting, those officers will immediately put on their blues and twos, and they will start making their way to the scene. They would prefer to be ahead of the game because seconds can save lives, and it often does, and we've seen that. as soon as they realise that they're no longer required, they'll obviously cancel their blues and twos, and less, of course, they're required to pack up and use the physical force. But you put yourself in the shoes of an armed police officer. As soon as you hear that there's an incident, every day you go on duty, you never ever know that there's a chance that you're going to use your firearm and take somebody's life. We don't have a shoot to kill policy. What we have is a shoot to stop policy. And we will shoot someone as many times as we believe is necessary. At London Bridge, the officers shot them multiple times. But at that particular time, and I'm not saying this is terrorist related, that's obviously got to be confirmed by Police Scotland. But at that particular time, when police sometimes are criticised by the public, you just put yourself in that officer's shoes. He's probably got a wife, family, or a husband, children, and their priority is to go home to them. But at that particular time, their priority is to save people's lives. And in doing sometime, we have to actually take somebody else's life. It's not something we enjoy doing. These officers are highly trained. They're debriefed afterwards. And it's a job that most can't or wouldn't want to do. But there are many officers that do take up a firearm knowing that at some time in their career, they hope they won't have to do it, but they may have to take someone's life. And they've certainly done that today in the city of Glasgow.